The topic of quitting corn has been very popular for I don't know when NoFap started, but it started a couple of years ago, and it's still popular to this day. And I think it's always going to be popular, as long as men are trying to improve themselves, because it is the most addictive like platform. I'm sure you've seen, or if you haven't seen, I saw this one post. I've seen multiple times about like the fastest growing social medias, right? And they've got like Instagram there, Facebook, TikTok, Vine, everything, and then they've got the hub, right? And it was a it was a statistic on which platform or how long each platform took to get a billion users, right? And you've got Instagram is sitting at like 3 years. Even TikTok, with I think TikTok had like a year or something like that, or a couple of months, right? Like the second fastest one was at like 3 months. I think it was TikTok. And then you have the hub. It was 3 days. 3 days to reach a billion users, right? I don't think anyone can debate like they're liberals who try and debate, corn is good for you and all that. But I think we all know, those of us that are trying to improve ourselves, we know it's bad for us. Other than, you want to talk about all the things that are spoken about in NoFap, the girls holding eye contact with you on day 90, you can levitate and all that crap. I don't really believe in all that. That's a lot of like placebo and everything. But I think the most fundamental thing is that we all know it's immoral, it's wrong, it's pathetic, really. You're sitting there watching two other people, getting it on, and you're just there like, wishing you were the guy or whatever. It's a really pathetic thing to be doing, and I think we all know that. And also just the amount of time it takes, like it just wastes so much of your time, and you feel bad after it. You just know, we all know it's not good. Like any man who's trying to improve themselves and who's trying to improve himself knows it's not good, right? And as I said, it's a topic that's been popular and it's going to be popular for as long as men are trying to improve themselves and like move forward in life, because of just how addictive it is. Like it's so addictive. 2 years ago, when I was living in an estate, right? Like there's just lots of kids around and everything. They're just these little boys are they just came to speak to me or whatever. They saw me like playing football. I was training, and they just came in. You're just talking, and then they just randomly told me. I guess because it's like, oh, there's like another. He's like an older guy, but he's still a guy. He's not gonna like tell our parents anything. They're like, oh, I watch X videos. I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? They just said it, right? And the youngest one there was like 7, and I was like, I'll never forget that. I was like, they're 7-year-olds. There are 7-year-olds watching, right? And even for people in our generation, like we started watching like quite early, but seven is crazy, right? And I think everyone knows like the severity of just how difficult it is. Now, to get into the topic of, I want to speak about like why you should like stop trying so hard to quit it, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't quit it. The end goal is still to quit it. But the reason I see that a lot of like young men don't quit, watching corn, is that they focused on it. They focused on, oh, I'm gonna quit corn. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go on a streak. I'm gonna do like No Nut November. I'm gonna go on a streak. And streaks, I think I've spoken about before. Streaks are, stop trying to chase streaks. Streaks are just not gonna work, right? And this is something that's just much more fundamental, much deeper, and it's stop trying to form streaks and focus on progressively overloading your life. And it's a concept I've heard Hamza speak about it, and I've also learned like this from Jordan Peterson. That's why he said the whole, clean your room or make your bed kind of thing. It's, you just want to start sort of progressively making things better in your life. Like if you're cleaning your room, you start with just making your bed, right? And then if your room is a mess, just move one thing every day. Just start getting better and build that psychological momentum. That's how you beat anything difficult in life. You don't beat it by trying to go on a streak. And the same thing goes for like someone who's trying to lose weight, right? Like I was listening to Jordan Peterson was interviewing this like doctor. He spoke a lot about like nutrition and everything, right? And Jordan Peterson said something about how you don't want to fight like against your hypothalamus. And your hypothalamus is basically like a part in your brain that is responsible for you surviving, right? And you were saying that you don't want to get into a fight with your hypothalamus because you're going to lose every single time, right? And I think he was speaking mainly to do with like, imagine those people who are dieting, right? And you want to lose weight and you're like, I'm just gonna cut, and you're basically starving yourself. And you get into this binge starve cycle, which I don't know if you've ever gotten into it, but I was in it like 2 years ago, and it's awful, right? It's like, oh, I'm starving myself, and then for whatever reason I just end up binge eating, right? And then it's like, oh, now I've got to keep starving myself. And you don't think you're starving yourself. You just say, I'm just going to eat less so I can lose the weight. And it's a cycle, and you always lose. And the reason you lose is because you're fighting against your hypothalamus, which is meant to keep you alive, and that just doesn't work. And the way you you sort of work with your hypothalamus is that you do it progressively. As I was saying, you progressively overload. You lose weight bit by bit. You lower your calories bit by bit, right? You figure out how you can make your diet like better. You have like more wholesome foods. Not wholesome, more whole foods, more filling foods. You find a way to work with it. You don't fight against your hypothalamus by trying to build a streak, right? You do it like progressively overloading, and it's the same thing with trying to quit corn, right? And again, going back to what I'm trying to say is that you don't focus on this. Watching corn is simply a symptom, right? And I was speaking to my one friend. We were speaking about this, right? And we're speaking about we're trying to be like good men of God. We don't want to like be watching corn or anything like that. And we spoke about how, yeah, for me, I said that like it's not about like it specifically, but it's more about like the bigger picture in your life, right? And I made a video, it was last year. I said same thing, right? It was that stop focusing on trying to quit corn and focus on the other things in your life. The reason you watch corn is because I can guarantee you, and if this isn't the case, then I don't know how you can be helped, but I can guarantee you if you had all those pillars checked off in your life, things would be good, right? And the pillars would be you have a good social life, you have like really good like close friends you trust, and you guys hang out very often, and you feel you've got good friends that you can trust, right? You've got a good relationship, right? You've got a career, whatever it is, you've got a purpose or a career that you're focused on, and you wake up every day and you're just excited. Well, not excited, but you're working towards something in your life that you're excited to achieve, right? You've got that, and you're healthy, right? You're in good physical shape, right? Like the four pillars of your life, basically. Your friendships, your relationships, your career, and your health. If you've got that in check, you're not watching corn. You're just not doing it. Okay, like if you're because it's bad, it's terrible, and it makes you feel bad, and it's just something you don't want to do. But the reason you do it is because it's so much easier than doing the other ththings, of facing the real problems in your life. And that's what I'm saying, is you want to face the real problems in your life. And when I was speaking with my friend again, it was just like, oh, you get closer to God, and you become like a man of God, and everything else sort of falls away, right? You've got a North Star, you're focusing on something, and yeah, that's just how you beat it, basically. Stop trying to focus on it specifically. It is simply a symptom, right? And similar to the hypothalamus thing that I spoke about, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if corn, I guess it is just as potent, actually. I think it would probably it would be subject to the same principle, that you don't want to be fighting like against your natural like urges that are meant to keep you alive and keep your the generation of your, or to keep the generations going, basically. You don't want to be fighting against that. And it's the same thing with like corn. Like you're just not going to beat it if you're going to take it on. If you want to take it head on, you need to incrementally get rid of it. And you can do that if you want to focus on it, which I don't recommend. But if you want to focus on it, stop focusing on streaks, but rather focus on like, oh, I do this 3 times a day, let me drop it to 2 times a day, right? For the next week, I'll focus on dropping it to 2 times a day, and then you drop it down to once a day. Then eventually you start making it like once every 2 days, once every 3 days, and you start doing that. That's a much better way of doing it than trying to form a streak, because again, it's like fighting against your hypothalamus. You're going to lose, and you know it because you're here watching this video. But the better thing that I think is much better is just completely ignore it, because it is simply a symptom of things that are wrong in your life, and you focus on sorting those things out in your life. And I say get right with God, like focus your life on God. Find your why, right? Find your why for like something you're focusing on. Like if you're focusing on like, think of like Elon Musk, for example. Like he's got like a big project. He's always got big things he's trying to achieve. If you're that focused on things like that, you wake up and it's the first thing you're thinking about. You go to sleep, so it's the last thing you think about. You're not going to be scrolling on the hub. You're not doing any of that because you've got something better to be doing with your life, right? You got something that's taking up your brain space. You don't have time to be doing that sort of thing, right? And yeah, I would say that corn is simply a symptom of the problems you have in your life. Sort out the problems in your life, and you won't have to worry about it. And even if you do a relapse or whatever it is, you don't even see it as a relapse. It's kind of just like, oh, yeah, I don't really want to be doing that, and you just go back with your life. And I guarantee those relapses will probably happen at a time when you're not focusing on your work or whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. You're not focusing on your purpose, because when you are focused on your purpose, you're not worried about that. All right, but yeah, make sure you subscribe to join the Self-Improvement Brotherhood, and until next time, see you boys.